Good morning. So here I am this beautiful morning in the Pine Barrens, in one of the many preserves that are present here in the Pine Barrens of Long Island, which is characterized by sandy, low quality soil and dominated by pines and oaks. Specifically Pinus rigida and an assortment of oaks like blackjack oak or black oaks and post oaks. And in the understory we have blueberries, huckleberries, and another one I wanted to get a close-up of for you is the American wintergreen. Here's an American wintergreen, and that's in the Ericaceae, just like the blueberries. And it's an interesting little plant. It has a pungence to it. So think of the word pungence. It just means it has something of a good smell, somewhat of a good smell. And the smell that I'm referring to here is if you were to break the leaf a little bit. I feel bad about doing that. And stick it up your nose, you're going to smell the distinct smell of bubblegum, wintergreen bubblegum. Alright, this is the American wintergreen, and it does smell like wintergreen. This is Gaultheria procumbens. You have an assortment of huckleberries and blueberries of the genus Vaccinium. This is a good one. This is Smilex. I think it's Glauca. Smilex glauca. This is a sawbriar or greenbrier, which is this one's more like a little bush. But usually, when you find greenbriers or Smilex species, you find them as vines with thorns. They do have thorns on this. Okay, let's keep going. So further up on the path, there are two ponds, and that's where I want to take you guys. We'll be able to take a look at what kind of flowering plants there are over there. Okay, so I've reached one of the ponds, and there's an interesting assemblage of plants here. Well, we have Pinus rigida. It's got, let me see, fascicles of 3 needles. 1, 2, 3. One, two, three. Okay, and if I were to find a pine cone for you, you can see little thorny projections on each scale. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see. There. See these thorny projections on the scales? This is characteristic of Pinus rigida. They seem to have a red maple, Plethora ulnifolia, the sweet pepper bush, now in fruit, and a couple of St. Johns Worts, which they like to use for medicines. I don't know about this one, but this is marsh St. Johns Wort of the genus Hypericum. Okay, and these guys have what we call pellucid dots. If you were to look at this under a hand lens, you would see little golden resin dots on the leaves. and that's one of the characteristics of these species. Here we have another St. Johns Wort. This is probably dwarf St. Johns Wort. It's a little bit cloudy today, so I don't think we'll see them in flower anytime soon. This is a bugleweed, Lycopus. Yeah. And then, look at this tiny little guy. Drosera. This is a carnivorous plant, which is characteristic of these areas, these locales. You find at least 3 different genera of carnivorous plants here. This looks like Drosera Rotondifolia, so it's a little bit hard for me to tell. This is a passive, well, semi-passive, semi-active trapper. You see those glandular hairs? Those little trichomes? What a beauty. But those have little, you can see it has a little bit of liquid at the end, and that attracts insects, and they get stuck on those things. And then the leaf curls up on them. So it's passive in the sense that it attracts the animal and then it traps it by just having it get stuck. And it's a little bit active because it'll curl up, but only after a little while. It doesn't do it immediately. So there's another species, there's a intermedia, Drosera intermedia here. It has a longer, like a spoon-shaped leaf. Not so round. This is this is Cranberry, Vaccinium. Some killdeer flying around. Alright, this is the American Cranberry, and I saw a little of the macrocarpon earlier. I can't find it now. Anyway, it's so many of these Drosera. And this is just at the edge of the pond. Oh, look at this. Here we go. This is Areocolon aquatica, or aquaticum. This is pipewort. It's in the order of grasses. It's got basal leaves, grass-like leaves, and it has this head for an inflorescence. A head, if you recall, it's a type of inflorescence that we use for Asteraceae, but we use it for this also. Inconspicuous flowers, really nothing to write home about, but it's an interesting plant. Okay. This is one of the Bladderworts. This is another carnivorous plant. This is probably Utricularia purpurea. Yeah, I think so. It's got the purple flowers. The inside. Wow, look at that. And then the plant is here in the water. See if I can get a close-up of that. A little stuck. Hi, so this is the Bladderwort. It's got a whorl of leaves, and at the end of the leaves, let's see if I can get enough light for this. You see these little bags, these bladders? That's the active trapping mechanism that exists on these types of plants. So there's some trigger hairs or trichomes on the outside of the little bladder, and when a little water flea, Daphne or something, swims by, it gets sucked in half an instant. Not even an instant, half an instant. It doesn't even know what happened, and then it gets trapped in there and can't get out because a little latch closes in on it. So here I've got a Utricularia cornuta. That's the horned bladderwort, and right now it's just growing in the sand deep down. But you have to think about the fact that this gets flooded in the spring, and right now is its flowering stage. It's a real beauty. Look how small that thing is. So we're up to 2 species of Utricularia, the bladderworts. So remember I was talking about Pinus rigida having those spines on the cones? Well, take a look at this one. That's what I'm talking about. That looks nasty, right? This is a fire-dependent species. These things open in the heat. These cones open in the heat or in fires. And the fires clear the area for to create habitat for this species. Okay, so I found some really nice ones here. Okay, so here you have, let's take a look at this guy. Drosera is much bigger than the other one. This is intermedia. It's got that spoon-shaped leaf. Okay, a long-leafed type shape for the leaves. There you go. What a beauty! And it's much bigger too. With a longer petiole for the leaf. And the whole reason I even came out here in the first place is to show you guys this thing. This is Virginia Meadow Beauty. Rexia virginica. Rexia virginica. Look at those anthers. This is in the Melastomes, which is more or less really a southern species, a tropical species of the Americas. And we have about 5 or 6 species in the United States and North America. This is probably the second most common, but the only one that really happens here in the Northeast. Look at that style. See the style there? A sigmoid style, which means it's kind of S-shaped. The anthers are yellow. They are buzz pollinated. That means a bumblebee has to come in and do its buzzing dance, and a little bit of pollen comes out at a time, out of a little pore. These are porocidal anthers. Right, and the anthers, when they age, from one day to the next, go from yellow to red, and sometimes they have these red. So these flowers are probably a day old. There we go. Sometimes you see on the anthers, on the filaments of the anthers, little red bruises. bee kisses. That's where the bee would hang on. The bumblebee would hang on to the anther and kind of bruise it. But this is uniformly red. Let's see if there's any. I don't see any fruit. Oh, yeah, it's already losing its petals. A little slightest touch, petals went down. Over here is another one. Let's take a look at that one. Isn't that gorgeous? And look at these fruit. They're a little bit urn shaped. Okay, like little cream urns. You used to put cream in it. Yeah, so a bee, I wish I could get some footage of the bee doing this, but we'll do it with what we can. A bee would climb onto the flower and go underneath like this, and it would buzz, and the pollen would land on the abdomen, on the underside of the bee. And then some of it, of course, would escape and get onto the thorax, on the top of the thorax and the top of the abdomen. And the bee would come into contact with that style. Yeah, this one has a lot of fruit, so maybe it was really, it was really successful. This one has a lot of fruit, and it was really successful. And these guys will flower they have a long flowering period, from midsummer to October. Anyway, here's another beauty. Same one, same species. Just another of it. Jeez. Look at these. These are today's blooms. This is today's flower. Look at that. Typical of the Melastomes, curved anthers on long filaments. Compare that to this one. See the red bruising on that one? See this one. What a beauty. So interesting too. So there's no nectar on these plants, on these flowers. The reward for the bee is the pollen. So maybe you're asking yourself, why does it change color? Why do the anthers change color? Well, a lot of melastomes do that, but probably to signal to the pollinator, hey, don't bother visiting this other flower. Just come straight to this one. This one's the new one. All right, this one still has pollen. The other one, your friends shook the pollen out yesterday. It's no good anymore. Difference again. So here's Drosera intermedia again, and we have some flower stalks. Look at that. And if you look closely, there are some curled up leaves. There's one. There's another one. So they've been trapping stuff. And like I said before, they curl up slowly. They trap the insect first, and then with time they curl up over the insect's body to increase surface area for absorption of the nutrients that it needs to take up. Specifically probably nitrogen. This is Utricularia cornuta, the horned bladderwort, and as you can see, you can tell why it's called the horned bladderwort. You can see this nectary extends downward in a pointy end like some sort of horn. This is a little bit different from the other Utricularias because it's a terrestrial one, and here we have. Here I'm trying to show. It's growing terrestrially, right? The leaves usually, well, right now they're absent. I can't see them, but when they're present, they'll be filamentous and going through the muck, this muck here, or the sandy substrate, and rather difficult to see. Of course, this does get flooded in the spring, and at that time of the year, this plant is underwater. But right now, it's not, and it's in flower. And there's a whole bunch of it here. Look at all those little yellow spots. Real pretty. And here what I have is a species of Zyrus in the Zyridaceae. It's its own strange family, but it's in the Poales order. And it's called the yellow-eyed grasses. It's not in flower right now, but what happens is that it'll flower. Let me see if I can get, there it is. It'll flower one at a time from these bracts, this head. Okay, and there's about 12 species. It's really difficult to ID one from the other. It depends on things like are the leaves broad? Are they curled? Do they have undulations in them? And that's not enough either. You really have to take it back to the lab, count the bracts and things like that, things of that nature. So it's a difficult species group to ID, and there are about 12 of them here, and I'm not even going to try to guess for fear of looking like somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about. All right, but enjoy. I'll post a picture of what it looks like in flower. It's real beauty, and it should be flowering. I guess we missed it by about a week or so. So a bunch of it over here. Okay. There's the flower head here. Get it into focus. There you go. Yellow-eyed grasses, Zyrus. Yeah, so I was showing you before one of the greenbriers, and here's the other. Look at that. This is Rotondifolia, the round-leaf greenbrier. You see the difference? So I'm walking along this path around this second pond, which I've never been to before, and lo and behold, what do I find? Dentate leaves, strongly dentate leaves in alternate fashion, and it's pretty tall. I think this is the biggest one I've ever seen of this species. This is the American chestnut, which is famous for having been ubiquitous in city streets all along the suburbs of the United States, and even in urban centers and in the forests, ubiquitous in our forests, until an invasive fungal species came to America and pretty much wiped them all out. And here it is. This has got to be the tallest one I've ever seen. I've never seen any chestnut this big before. I don't know. This is probably 30 feet, maybe 40. Wow, I'm impressed. Look at this. Wow, what a beauty. Hey, I hear a singing pine warbler. They shouldn't be singing now. I guess it's practicing. That's a white-breasted nuthatch, but I'm hearing a pine warbler in the background, almost like spring. There. I've seen some pine warblers, but I didn't think they would practice this time of the year. There it goes again. So this is reminiscent of the American wintergreen, the Utricularia procumbens, but it's got a narrower leaf. It's a bit taller. It's definitely bushier. It is a woody plant, this one that we're looking at, and it's a ground cover. It's a really good ground cover for these types of soils. Let's take a close look at it. All right, and I don't think it has any pungence to it. No, not at all. This is, oh, here's a nice berry of it. Okay, look at that berry. Bring it up close. Okay, nice red berry. If you're in California, you might recognize this from the berry, but this is Arctostaphos uva-ursi, the bearberry, and it's a member of the wintergreen family, or the blueberry family, the Ericaceae. It has little white bell-shaped flowers in the spring. In the Ericaceae, a lot of the species in the Ericaceae have that type of flower, and so the flower is not the best character for distinguishing species. You have to go with other sets of characteristics, which is odd for flowering plants. You want to use flowers to identify different species, but in the Ericaceae, those lines get blurred a bit. So anyway, here they are side by side. Here's the American wintergreen and bearberry. See, now you can tell the difference, right? And underneath, let's see, I thought I saw some berries under this. Here they are. Look at this. Hey guys, so I want to show you here at the lake. It's a nice mute swan over there. I want to show you the bladderworts again. Let's see if we can get through the water. There it is. There's the bladderwort. Here's the leaf with the bladderwort. That ball at the end is a mechanism to survive the winter. So that'll fall off when the water starts to freeze, and it'll grow back from that in the coming year. And I'll take some out. This one you can really see the bladders. There they are. Remember, it's an active trapper. There's another plant, another aquatic here that looks somewhat similar, but it is not. It is not a. But it is not a carnivorous plant. This is Cabamba caroliniana, fanwort. It's got these fan-shaped leaves. Look at the dichotomous branching.